the braised red cabbage, you need 1 kg red cabbage, 450 gram cooking apples, 1 clove of garlic, half a teaspoon nutmeg, half a teaspoon cinnamon, 3 tablespoons brown sugar, 3 tablespoons white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar, and 20 grams of butter. You can see here the products that I'm going to be using today. I've got bramley apples there. And I'm going to put everything to the side and start working on my red cabbage. You want to quarter your red cabbage. This is the best way I find to do it. And then start to chop out the large white bits. These tend to be a little bit more chewy and a little bit harder, and they're not as appetizing, I find. And then what you want to do is just slice your cabbage into, you can slice it very thinly if you'd like, or you can slice it slightly more chunky. I prefer slightly more chunky. So that's what I'm doing here. And once you've done with that, you want to peel and core your bramley apples, your cooking apples, and get those sliced up quite thinly and chopped into little pieces as well. You can see I'm slicing them up fairly thinly so that the pieces will actually cook down and mix with the cabbage and make for a nicer bite rather than having large chunks of apple in the middle of the braised red cabbage. You then want to add your cabbage to a bowl with your apples and add your spices and your brown sugar and mix it all up with your hands to make sure that everything is just all evenly coated. We don't like to have any kind of the braised cabbage without any of the flavor and the seasoning that just seeps into the mixture while it's cooking. So we really want to just get all those flavors mixed up together. And then you can transfer them to a heat-proof oven dish and add your red wine vinegar. It might be a bit of a squash, so you really want to just push it down and then cover this in tin foil or with the lid and get that into your oven. You want to cook this at about 140, 150 for about 2.5 hours. After the first half hour, you want to take it out, give it a good stir through, and keep taking it out sort of once every half hour, every 45 minutes, and giving it a stir around to make sure that none of the cabbage goes dry on the top. But literally, that is it. It couldn't be easier. And don't forget to get your bits of butter on the top to make sure that it cooks down into the cabbage and just gives it a lovely, rich flavor. For the cauliflower cheese, you'll need 50 grams of butter, 4 tablespoons of plain flour, 500 ml of full cream milk, 1 head of cauliflower, and this makes 2 portions to feed 4 people. First, you want to melt your butter in the pan. Melt it well and then add your flour. Mix this around with a whisk until it's all incorporated and there are no lumps. Allow to cook this for 35 to 45 seconds just to remove some of that flour flavour. Next, we're going to add our warm milk. And once again, we're just going to whisk to make sure that there are no lumps and that the sauce can thicken without getting lumpy. Next, you want to add nutmeg that I've grated. I like to use whole nutmeg, I found, because it stays fresher for longer. And as the sauce starts to thicken, you want to then add your cheese. The cheese will allow the sauce to thicken a little bit more and it will be a nice pourable consistency. You need to whisk nicely just to make sure that all the cheese is combined and it's melting nicely and the sauce starts to thicken well. As you can see, I've cooked my cauliflower. I've just steamed it and put it into the freezer dish, and then I'm going to add my cheese sauce. You can season this cheese sauce if you'd like with salt and pepper. It's up to you. It just depends on how you and your family enjoy it. As you can see, I've added my cheese sauce, but now there's a few gaps that I just want to spoon some of the cheese sauce into to make sure that it covers over the cauliflower nicely. And next we're going to cover with the cheese. And then we're going to pop the lid back on, label it, wait for it to cool completely, and then freeze.